The Madman! Today was the big Boomsday card reveal stream, starting with the Paladin Legendary spell, Kangor's Endless Army. 7 mana, resurrect 3 friendly mechs. They keep any magnetic upgrades, so this should be a pretty big finisher to a mech paladin deck. Gonna magnetize your mechs, gonna make them pretty big, make them pretty awesome, and then play Kangor's Endless Army and get a whole bunch of value. I think that such a game plan is feasible. It would lean towards somewhere between mid-range and control. It's not quite anything can happen because you're not trying to OTK the opponent. It's probably closest to Blood Reaver Gul'dan in that you're summoning a bunch of value. We'll have to wait and see on what cool big mechs are upcoming. Priest gets a 2 mana 2/1 Dead Ringer. Death Rattle, draw a Death Rattle minion from your deck. Looks just like Loot Hoarder, except it's a focused Death Rattle draw instead of just a draw. And it's also a mech if that matters for Priest. Dead Ringer is a slightly better Loot Hoarder because you want to draw Death Rattle minions from your deck in Quest Priest. So Quest Priest will probably run 2 Dead Ringer and 2 Loot Hoarder. Next up we've got Reckless Experimenter, which is a very big game changer card. 5 mana 4/6 for Priest, Death Rattle minions you play cost 3 less, but die at the end of the turn. And that's a but maybe you could reframe it as also? Cards that can be good when they die at the end of the turn include, but are not limited to, Devilsaur Egg, in which case that's a 0 mana 5/5 when you play it alongside Reckless Experimenter. Carnivorous Cube is a 2 mana copy a big minion. This card also turns your Voodoo Doll into 0 mana Assassinates. So this is kind of like Spiteful Summoner in that it could create a whole new deck based around it, because the effect is that powerful. The key here is to think of the butt die at the end of the turn as a bonus. Next up is Fateful Lumi. We finally get to see this little guy who is featured in the trailer, and as we expected, he's a little guy at 1 mana 1/1, and he's a mech. Battlecry, give a friendly mech +1/+1, so think of him as a 1 mana 2/2. That's pretty good, and 2 of the stats of the 2/2 are fast because they kind of charge when you already have a mech on the board. Acris Veteran is kind of like a 1 mana 3/1, which is also 4 stats total for 1 mana. And Acris Veteran was run here and there, so I think Fateful Lumi will actually see consideration should a decent aggressive or mid-ranged mech deck come about. Next we have Warlock's Omega card, and we also learned that not every class will get an Omega card. Notably Druid, because Druid Omega would be Omega lol. But Omega Agent for Warlock, 5 mana 4/5. Battlecry, if you have 10 mana crystal, summon 2 copies of this minion. So on 10 mana, you can get 15 worth of stats for 5 mana. Wow. And obviously the card isn't very good, played for 5 mana 4/5, but doable when you're desperate. It does seem like all of these Omega cards will be very strong in Arena, and then you have to think about, is that good to get to 10 mana as your Warlock, and then play a 5 mana which gets you 3 4/5s? I mean, yes, if I had that card I would certainly play it then, but is it worth putting that card into your deck? And I think the answer might be because it's Warlock, and they have some really intense stuff that they're doing on turn 10. The other big Warlock cards might just be a bit better. There's also the idea that just a bunch of stats for a deck that wants to get to 10 mana seems a little bit disjointed. What Warlock deck wants to get to 10 mana and then just summon a big minion? The point of Control Warlock, at least, was you get to 10 mana, you change your hero power into something that eventually wins, while also summoning a bunch of big minions, which mostly have Taunt, by the way. And then in Zoo, you're not really aiming to get 10 mana. So we'll have to see whether or not Warlock can get a home for Omega Agent. Next we have a pretty intense rogue card, Lab Recruiter, 2 mana 3/2. Battlecry, shuffle 3 copies of a friendly minion into your deck. This is basically Gang Up, except it comes with a 2 mana 3/2, with the only condition being you can't Lab Recruiter an opponent's minion. And even more intense, possibly, is you could potentially gang up your Gang Up, causing Rogue to have a way to get an infinite deck now, by playing Lab Recruiter on Lab Recruiter. This might be the baseline for some sort of Control Rogue Miracle deck, Miracle Deck's weaknesses in the past were that it could run out of cards to draw in their deck. So why not go infinite? Go Lab Recruiter, and then perhaps then throw in a Faldor Strider, and then you can get a bunch of Spideys on your empty deck, and you can keep drawing permanently. This might combo with the legendary Rogue spell. You draw out your entire deck, and then you can start lab recruiting and filling your deck with exactly what you want. Interesting stuff here. For the name of science! Science! Next up, we've got Weaponized Pinata. Very colorful guy, and he's here to steal the Fortnite players. 4 mana, 4/3 Mech. Death Rattle, add a random legendary minion to your hand. Arthas is a weaker minion, so at least this has more tempo than Arthas, but Arthas gives you a better card. Will Weaponized Pinata actually see any play? I don't know, given the other mech options we'll have to see, but it is, just like Arthas, a very slow tempo card, though not nearly as slow as Arthas. Another big card to compare this card with is Stonehill Defender, which is a very popular card, and I believe that discovering a taunt card is better than adding a random legendary minion to your hand. So it's awkward, but it is colored very awesomely. Warlock gets a Disruption card in their Demonic Project. 2 mana, each player transforms a random minion in their hand into a demon. This is the dirty rat that the pro players were kind of asking for, something that breaks combos. It's the way to offensively target stuff in the opponent's hand. Very rare to be able to do that. People are looking at this and saying, oh, hey, it's an answer to Shutterwalk, because you can target their Shutterwalk, you can target their Grumble, you can target their Zola. If you play Demonic Project after they play Shutterwalk in particular, then you know for a fact that they have 1 Shutterwalk in their hand generally. So that's probably the best time to play Demonic Project, because if you actually transform their Shutterwalk, then you win the game. Now, the downside is that's pretty specific of a counter. You're aiming just for Shutterwalk, you're aiming to get their Hadronox perhaps, their Malagos. There's a few cards here and there that are also key cards that you want, that are minions that you want to transform. But the tough time is going to be finding the right timing. And unlike Dirty Rat, this card is nearly useless against aggressive decks and mid-range decks, because you could actually use Dirty Rat as an efficient 2 mana 2/6, whereas this is 2 mana, don't impact the board at all. Very interesting tech card though, and I look forward to seeing if it's played at some high stakes tournaments where you bring in the Disruption Warlock to counter the opponent's combo decks. Next, a Mage card, 4 mana, Unexpected Results. It's a spell, summon 2 random 2-cost minions improved by spell damage. The improvement goes on the mana cost of the minions, not to the number of minions. So if you have a spell damage on the board, something like Blood Mage Thalnos or Black Cat, then you will summon 2 3-cost minions for 4 mana. That's pretty decent. 2 2-cost minions would be pretty bad, because on average you're getting 2 2s on that, so 4 mana for 2 2/2s. You can curve out with Black Cat or Thalnos into it. And Black Cat is played in some tempo mages, so 3 mana 3/3 plus 1 spell damage. Don't scoff at that. Interesting new card in a way that's spell damage effects that we haven't seen before, so maybe there's a little bit more spell damage theme coming, in which case this card might be more viable. As stands right now though, with the spell damage minions available and the other bonuses you can get out of spell damage, I think it's expected that Unexpected Results will not be very good. Next up, we got the big man himself, the namesake of this set, Dr. Boom! Except this time he's in hero form. Dr. Boom, mad genius. He's changing the rules of the hero cards. Not every hero is going to give you 5 armor anymore. This 7 mana hero card gives you 7 armor. All your mechs have rush. And the hero power is pretty intense. It is one of 5 random hero powers which change at the end of your turn each time, so your opponent knows what's coming up before you do. The hero powers are summon 3 1/1 mechs, and by the way, since your mechs have rush, then that's basically deal 3 damage to minions. Deal 3 damage, which is probably going to be used in a control fashion if you're playing with this Dr. Boom Mad Genius card. Gain 7 armor, which is big for control decks. You've got Discover a Mech, which is huge for control decks. It's kind of like Build a Beast, in that you're going to just get a big card out of the thin air, which doesn't affect your fatigue. And finally, there's deal 1 damage to all enemies, which is like Scourge Ward Garrosh's hero power, except it's not self-inflicting damage to you, which is probably good if you're running Dr. Boom Mad Genius in your deck. Warrior King / God Fibonacci has already made a claim about this card. I quote, "Dr. Boom will be played in any warrior deck because the hero power is straight up an upgrade on average. 8 variants, but what is Dr. Boom without RNG? All those abilities are just good." Clearly it's a card that you need to not just use once though, that hero power. It's one that you want to, just like Justicar Trueheart, you play it and then you want to use the hero power each turn and you want the game to go on for a while. Which cements that the warrior mech theme is going to be of control mechs. This card will get especially better if we see some good big cost mechs. And no, Beryllium Nullifier, I'm afraid that you're still no good. But maybe this is a chance for Weaponized Pinata to shine. If there's a deck that would fit Weaponized Pinata in, it seems like this control deck, where your mechs also have Rush, might be the place. Finally, from the reveal stream, we have Auto Defense Matrix. 1 mana, secret for Paladin. When one of your minions is attacked, give it Divine Shield. Note that this is 1, so if you already have a minion with Divine Shield on, it is a very bad idea to have Auto Defense Matrix out. Pretty comparable to Noble Sacrifice. Your card is protected from attack. Unlike Noble Sacrifice, the minion itself will deal usually more than 2 damage, but not always, because sometimes you have some Silver Hand recruits, which is why I don't think this card will be good in Odd Paladin. Odd Paladin focuses so much on summoning Silver Hand recruits that you play around Auto Defense Matrix by targeting a weak minion first, and then your Auto Defense Matrix goes off, and then you've basically spent 1 mana to put Divine Shield on your 1/1, which is terrible. Will this card be the thing to make Secret Paladin great? I don't think so. So where this card really shines is if you're playing a deck which doesn't rely on the hero power that much, because when Auto Defense Matrix goes off on one of your big minions, that's when you're getting a lot of value, because unlike Noble Sacrifice, that minion will usually deal more than 2 damage, and it's also the minion that you want to survive. You can play the Auto Defense Matrix pre your card as well, so maybe on turn 1, if you want your turn 2 minion to very much survive, then Auto Defense Matrix will almost always save it, except against spells. That's all the cards revealed in the stream. Some pretty interesting ones, and of course the big king himself, Dr. Boom Mad Genius, might just make some waves. And I've been showing this piece of art. Dr. Boom, excellent character. You too can get this awesome poster from Displate.com. It's magnets, just like the magnetize from this set. You use this magnet, attach it to a wall, hang the poster, you'll be the envy of all your friends. Use the link below and I get a referral bonus. The good and the bad times, we've been through them all. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around. The Inspira, Wheezing Seal, Gyarados Slowbro, gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all.